Sierra Leone. I és activista en favor dels drets del col·lectiu lesbià, gai, bisexual, transsexual, queer i intersexual i del desenvolupament de la joventut, així com defensor dels drets humans amb 10 anys d'experiència en el sector no lucratiu. Ha treballat extensament en recerca nacional i internacional sobre el virus de la sida i drets humans del col·lectiu LGBT. També ha treballat amb nens del carrer i jovent i en drets de les dones. George és un conegut ponent, poeta i autor i ha participat en nombroses jornades, seminaris i conferències internacionals sobre temes de la LGTB, prevenció de la sida, gènere i drets de les dones a diversos països, incloent Sierra Leone, Països Baixos, Canadà, Dinamarca, Espanya, Regne Unit i Bèlgica. Prèviament ha estat secretari general nacional i actualment consultor en desenvolupament per a Global Unification International, capítol Sierra Leone. És fundador i director de Pride Equality i coordina tots els projectes i programes sobre sensibilització en salut sexual, infeccions de transmissió sexual per a joves a Sierra Leone. Ha estudiat director i administració d'empreses, comunicació internacional empresarial i gestió de projectes. Welcome, George.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share the experience and the realities of the situation of LGBTI people in Sierra Leone. First and foremost, I would like to thank AXA, and I would also like to thank Erica for such a brief introduction. First and foremost, I would like to start with the Pride Equality. It's an organization that works on sexual orientation and gender identity issues in Sierra Leone. And I decided to start this organization because of the hate crimes and violence that I've suffered since I was age 9, living as a street child. So I decided to start Pride Equality so that I can give more, I can be able to protect people who are in danger in terms of sexual orientation and gender identity in Sierra Leone. So we provide services on sexual and reproductive health, including HIV, counseling and testing services, and also monitor and document human rights violations based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And we also advocate on local level at the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, at regional level at the Human Rights Commission, and also submit position paper to Office of the Commissioner for Human Rights. So this is briefly what Pride Equality does. And I would like to talk a little bit about the political situation in Sierra Leone. Homosexuality is illegal according to the Offences Against the Persons Act, which is 1861. This is an act that was introduced in Sierra Leone by the British during the colonial period. And in this act, it criminalizes LGBTI people in Sierra Leone with a jail term of minimum 10 years and maximum life imprisonment, and the case has to be decided by the judge of the court. And also, the 1991 Constitution in Sierra Leone also has no provision in terms of protection of the rights of LGBTI people, and also to guarantee non-discrimination for citizens. And most of the time, political leaders and also most of the time make hate statements and hate speeches. And most recently, it's one that was made by the Inspector General of the police. He says that there is no protection in Sierra Leone for people who regard themselves as lesbian and gay people, and the country cannot do anything about it. So it's really a worse situation. And most of the time there is a lot of arbitrary arrest and detention, and I have been a victim of that, because most of the time I have to go to the police for questioning. I've been detained several times in the police, and the most difficult thing is that most of those cases most of the time they don't document the cases. So when we report to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Sierra Leone, when they check the police records, there is nothing on the record, because most of the time they don't record these cases. So the situation is quite difficult for us in Sierra Leone in terms of the political situation. And I will also like to talk a little bit about the religious restrictions, because we have two main religions in Sierra Leone, which are Christianity and Islam. And most of the time, this religion, they have a council which is called the Interreligious Council. And most of the time, they have demonstrations and things like that. This is just a picture to show a demonstration that was done by the Islamic community, headed, because the Interreligious Council is headed by the Islamic community. So they have protest every 2 weeks around the country in different cities, to criminalize homosexuality and to promote hate crime and violence related to sexual orientation and gender identity. For example, I am a Christian, and also a Methodist, and most of the time I was part of the youth fellowship in my church. I was disfellowshipped not to go again to that youth fellowship because I identify myself as a gay person. So, but I tend to differ from that, because most of the time people say Christianity and Islam is part of Sierra Leonean culture, but I tend to differ. It's not part of Sierra Leonean culture, because before colonialism, we have a religion called Numoli. We used to worship soapstone, and there is no law that criminalizes sexual orientation and gender identity, because we also have a culture whereas if a woman is married to the husband and is not able to give back to a child, the woman has to marry another woman. And the woman that is married is not the wife of the husband, but the wife of the wife. This is how it's considered as. So you can see a clear pointer that homosexuality is part of Sierra Leonean culture. Now, because of, and the culture and tradition does not discriminate, like I said earlier on, but because of the homophobic laws and the religious leaders, most of the time preach against it, and also ignite hate crimes and attack against LGBTI people. And the sooner your sexual orientation and gender identity is known, you're chased away from home. Like, for example, I lost my mom when I was 9 years old, and I was forced to live on the street because nobody could accept me based on my sexuality. And also, most of the time, even in schools, and also in learning institutions, we face a lot of discrimination, because most of the time, most of the other kids don't allow you to even talk to them, and most teachers are also very much homophobic in terms of treatment of people who are lesbian and gay people in Sierra Leone. And the media has also been so negative in terms of promoting hate crimes. And most recently, there was a newspaper publication which was done on May 22nd with my picture, and there was a lot of profiling about my sexual orientation, my life, and things like that. And that creates a very difficult situation for me, and I was attacked on several occasions and sustained several injuries, and reported the matter to the Inspector General of the police, and also asked for protection from the police and to do an unbiased investigation on the situation. And the police simply don't do anything about it, and the situation was so difficult. And another thing is that we have a patriarchal society, whereas it's a male-dominated society. It's about, most of the time, men have to make the rules, So because of this, there's a lot of homophobia and transphobia. Now I talk about the problems that we face as LGBTI people, hate crimes, and in most places there is a lot of hate crime attacks, especially with transgender people, for being dressed in the sex which they were not assigned to at birth, and also most of these trans people have to do sex work, and they face violence from other women who are also sex workers and things like that. So violence is part of the society. As long as you're an LGBTI person, you have to accept violence. And most of the time, this sexual violence and correctional rape happens in families with gay people, and also with lesbians, because in most cases, people believe that these, if they send a man to rape a woman, that will make the woman think straight. So, and this is a problem that most of the time happens, and we've been documenting cases since 2007, since we started Pride Equality. And I also want to share my experience in terms of sexual violence. When I was aged 12, I was forced to have I was forced to have sex with a lady which I did not even like, so, and that really bothers me, and I was psychologically tortured in terms of doing that. And most families, more especially in the rural setting, most of the time force their kids to get married. And then you see, most people who are lesbian and gay people have to live a double life. They have to pretend to be in fake heterosexual relationship so that they can be able to guarantee their existence within the society. And there is also homophobia in health institutions, because most of the cases and most of the file systems we do on HIV services and healthcare services, most of the time these information are not kept confidential, because most nurses and doctors who works at the health center most of the time spread this information out, to other people who live in the community, and it makes the situation more dangerous. For example, there was a case of a lady who went to get tested, and a lesbian, and she was HIV positive, and she was stigmatized because one of the nurses spread the information, and we reported this to the National AIDS Commission, and there was nothing done about that. I would like to talk a little bit about my experience. Growing up as a child was pretty much difficult for me because I lost my mom when I was 9 and started living on the street. And life was very difficult because we faced bullying from other street kids, and also most of the time you have to go through psychological torture, you have to go through trauma and things like that, so it was really not easy. And also, working in a challenging environment is quite difficult in terms of starting advocacy and things like that. Like I said earlier, most of the time we have to go to the police, we have to be arrested and things like that, and be detained for no reason. And when you ask the reason for detaining, most of the time the police always say that we run a sex center, because as long as you have an organization that works on LGBTI rights, they consider you teaching, teaching people to be gay and to be lesbian and anal sex and things like that. So, and the situation is, and recently I would like to share a brief things about the recent attack that I have. I was driving home after the newspaper publication, the day the newspaper publication came out. So I felt, I didn't feel safe because I live alone. So I had to find a safe place so that I can pass the night. I was arrested, and also I was attacked that same night. I was attacked and I reported the incident to the police, and nothing was done about it. And also, and I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. These were pictures of the brushes and things that I suffered, which I would like to share for you. And currently, we in Spain asking for asylum because 3 of the frontline human rights defenders of pride equality who were targeted of hate crimes attack, and our lives were at risk. So this is the reason why we decided to move to Spain. So basically, I would like to end with a quote, which says, "Change started with small intention, being put into action is realized far beyond our imagination." And I want us all to join hands so that we can make homophobia, we can put an end to homophobia. So together we can stop discrimination and embrace diversity. I thank you all for your attention.